Here we go. So, thanks all for joining. I'm excited to share with you plans for next year. So this year, I started August 1 and I inherited a calendar and I inherited somewhat of a curriculum and I inherited wonderful teachers. But going into next year, it's really been an opportunity for me to sort of shape things based on what I've observed and some feedback. Hi, Michelle.
I can't figure this out. I got it now.
Okay, you're on a phone too, maybe? Yeah. So I've prepared a slideshow to sort of just go over everything, and I'll be talking us through it. And then at the end, there'll be time for questions. And I don't think this is going to take too long. Yeah, I'll highlight probably the two biggest changes before I go into the slideshow is that the morning's going to be from 9:30 to 12. And that's because we're going to be doing more Hebrew on Sundays and more enrichment, and just to give it some more spaciousness. And also the youngest class, the K1 class, this year they've been coming like every other week, sort of a little less than half as many times as the older grades. And starting in the fall, the K1 class is going to come just as, every week. Every time that the bigger kids, the whole school will be there together every Sunday. And the reasoning behind that, one is just that the younger kids bring a lot of energy and they enjoy to everybody because they're excited to be there. And to keep the learning more consistent. Yeah, and I think for some parents, it's easier if they've got an older kid and a younger kid so that, and because sometimes the younger siblings that were in the K1 class, they were sad when they would be dropping off their older sibling on a Sunday when they weren't there. So for all of those reasons, it made the most sense to move to an every week for all grades. So hold on just a second, and I'm going to share my screen with the slideshow. There we go. Okay. Hi, Jamie.
I totally thought 7:30, not 7.
That's okay. I mean, we normally do. Okay. Can everybody see that?
We can see it.
Great. So that's just the title page. Here we go. Here's the schedule. So as I said, 9:30 to 12 for all grades. The other big change is Hebrew tutoring for students in grades 3 through 6. So this year, there were these set class times with Hannah and Sarah Bernstein on Wednesday afternoons, and there was literally half the students could not make those set class times because of parents' work schedules or athletics or whatever. So I spoke with a lot of religious school directors to find out what people are doing at Reform synagogues, and most have moved to a one-on-one Zoom option. And the way that for 20 to 30 minutes per student. So I've hired, how many? I've hired 2 Hebrew tutors, one local who's been doing both Hebrew tutoring and B'nai Mitzvah tutoring for a long time. She was at the synagogue in Canton. Now she's at the synagogue in West Newton. So she has tons of experience. And then I've hired another young woman who's in New York who also has tons of experience doing Hebrew and B'nai Mitzvah tutoring. And she also has worked with the curriculum that I've purchased, with the specific Hebrew curriculum, and has been teaching from it. So I hired those 2. Sarah Bernstein's starting a full-time job in the fall. So her availability is very limited. She only really has from 7 p.m. on. So I sort of have her on backup. I have, between the 2 tutors I hired, we have enough slots for all the current students. If we get new families over the summer, I'll see if I can plug them into Sarah's slots between 7 and 7:30. So the way this is going to work, it's going to be a little bit of a matching game, is that the tutors have given me blocks of time. on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, late afternoon into the early evening, nothing later than 7:30. I reached out to a few parents and they were all like, can't do any later than 7:30. And so then I will reach out to parents and ask within those blocks for each family to give me hopefully at least 2 chunks of time that work with your schedule. And then I'll do like a matching. So that hopefully everybody has a time that works for you. And it'll be one-on-one. Also, both of these teachers have a lot of experience working with children with different learning styles. One of the teachers told me she's done a lot of work with dyslexic students, teaching them how to read Hebrew. So I'm confident that even though it's Zoom, I think this is going to work great. And if there's a particular child for whom Zoom is not working, then we'll figure something out. So does anybody have any questions about the schedule? No? Okay. We're going to meet about this year we met 26 Sundays. It's probably going to be 26 Sundays. That part of the schedule will probably remain very similar. One thing I want to do differently next year is I definitely want to have a Sunday devoted to Israel, like in a substantive way, in an age appropriate way, which this year didn't work out because last Sunday we didn't meet because of school vacation week, and this Sunday is mitzvah day, and because it would be nice to have it around Yom Ha'atzmaut, the Israeli holidays, the commemorative holidays, which didn't quite happen this year. So no questions about the schedule? Concerns, thoughts, feedback, anything? No. Okay, great.
I have
All
a
right.
quick question.
Yeah. I can't tell who's talking. Let's see.
I had a question. This is Kim, but I think
Oh,
someone
hi.
else did as well. I'm not sure who
Yeah,
else
yeah.
did, but and so I guess is the focus of the Hebrew going to be primarily prayers or
So it
let's
depends
prayer
on
or something else?
Yeah, it depends on the grade. And
Okay.
it depends. So third grade, they start with decoding. So I feel like third and fourth is often a lot of decoding and just reading, starting with, 1-syllable words, 2-syllable words, 3-syllable words. And by the time they get to fifth, they hopefully are doing fifth and sixth should be solid prayer.
Mhm.
Another thing that I did is that so at the end of this school year, all of the Hebrew teachers who are right now, Sarah, Hannah, and Ellen's teaching a couple kids too, they're going to fill out like an assessment, a skills, nothing like graded or heavy, just like where the students are at in terms of their ability to decode or know prayers, so that the incoming Hebrew teachers will know the skill level of the student that, generally speaking, of the student they're getting. So the content is not, in terms of Hebrew, is going to be similar to what Hannah and Sarah have been doing, but now we will have the next slide. Here, I'll go to the next slide, which gets into curriculum, if I can figure out how to get Jamie. Oh, there you go. Okay, so I'll talk about the Hebrew curriculum in a minute, but I think Mike had his hand. Mike, did you have a question?
No, I was just giving you a thumbs up.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, so here's curriculum and staffing. So we have purchased a curriculum through the Shalom Learning platform. And if anybody's curious, you can just Google Shalom Learning and you can check it out. So through them, we have access to a Jewish values curriculum, which actually Stacy Field has begun using a little bit this year because we had a 2-month pilot. So this is an example, it's a little blurry, but of various Jewish values. And the curriculum has lesson plans based on these values, based per grade. So it starts in kindergarten, goes to 7th. So for example, Jamie, who's on the call and is going to be teaching 5th grade. So all of these values are in this. It's an amazing Drive, I guess, I don't know, Google Drive, something, where per grade. So Jamie would go to the 5th grade and then she could click on Slicha, I'm sorry, maybe around Yom Kippur or something. And there will be multiple lesson plans and there will be links to various resources. And I think it's a combination of fun and learning and hopefully good stuff. So that's the sort of the Judaics, which we will supplement a bit. And then the Hebrew, we have 2 Hebrew curriculums through Shalom Learning. One's called Torah Ora, which is supposedly better for prayers. And the other one's called JLearn Connect, I think, which is decoding. So decoding means, so in a religious school Hebrew program, children are not learning Hebrew, a lot of the meanings of Hebrew words. They're learning to decode, which means to sound out the letters and the values and put that together so they can sort of mellifluously, fluently, but not in terms of meaning, in terms of just being able to sound out the words, which is a huge opening to the world of Judaism and Hebrew, if you can do that, so that then their preparation for their bar mitzvah is easier. So that's the goal. Some children, they have a hard time with the decoding because of learning issues or whatever. So then it worked out with the parents. If it's, you know, suggested to go to using some transliteration to make it easier, that's always a possibility. And I'm pretty confident that with these teachers and this curriculum that I think most of the students will be able to decode. That's the curriculum. And again, one of the tutors I've hired, who's going to she's going to have 11 students. I think we've got her for 5.5 hours a week. She has used JLearn Connect and Torah Ora, super familiar with it. So that's a big bonus. Jamie, and here's our teaching. So Daki's going to continue with K1. And Wendy is going to continue with grades 2 to 4. And Jamie's coming in as a new teacher who's currently a professional middle school teacher, math, science.
At this point, I do it all, but mostly math and science.
Okay. So we're very excited to have Jamie coming in. Stacy did not want to continue, and we loved her and she was amazing. And so then other staffing, I've also hired, this is a big new thing. I've hired a young Israeli woman named Maayan De La Torre, who is going to be coming in to do Hebrew with the kids. Now, she's going to be doing mostly so that they can get a little bit of modern spoken Hebrew. So she's not going to be doing literacy so much, like reading. She's going to be more teaching them how to understand and speak some Hebrew words using a methodology called Hebrew through movement, which she came in and did a demo and the kids really liked her. I'm also hoping that she can do some maybe Israeli folk dancing. And if not her, we're going to get somebody else in to do Israeli folk dancing. Maybe some cooking using Hebrew, which is actually really fun because then the kids learn some practical Hebrew words. And if I can figure out how, she will also be reinforcing some of the Hebrew learning that's happening during the week with the tutors. I'm not exactly sure yet what that would look like, but I will figure it out over the summer. Jamie, do you want to add anything?
I got to sit in on Maayan's little lessons with all of the kids, and it was really great to just, you know, teaching them, especially with like the littles. I have one that's finishing up first grade, but like the commands for standing up and sitting down and spinning around, walking, stop. So things that they can understand, and you can sort of at that age play Simon Says and sort of build on that. And I think it'll be a really great way for especially our youngest kids to connect, you know, to their, you know, to Hebrew before they even start reading it. And it can be tailored for the older grades depending on what, you know, students are interested in. I sat in with the older kids and they wanted more of the conversational stuff, and she's able to, you know, turn it into those kinds of things. And they were doing some vocabulary quizzing with each other, and it was really cool to just see her jump in and make connections with some of our older students as well. And they seem to, you know, really connect with her in terms of being able to like ask her questions, and she had, you know, some insight that was new to them, and they were able to ask her questions based off of the things that were interesting to them.
Yeah, and I would just add, so she has an amazing, she's Israeli. That's her, native language. So she has a beautiful accent, and I love that the students are going to get to hear Hebrew because I don't have, a great accent, even though I lived in Israel for 2 years. Like, so they'll hear that, which I think is really valuable. And she's going to do a little bit of sharing about Israeli culture with them, which I also think will be valuable. So I think there's a couple things in the chat I'm going to check. Oh, Ava really enjoyed it. Great. Yeah. I mean, she's lovely. She worked for an after school program in Brookline that was like a Hebrew after school program. And I know the rabbi who runs that, and she just spoke very highly of Maayan, that everybody loved her. So, yeah, so I'm excited.
Yeah, the children loved it, but she went to the class and like showed them like spinning or sitting down and all that. Yeah, so she has the charisma for the kids and like teach them the little things and introducing Hebrew. Yeah, we're excited for her.
Yeah. So that's part of why we're going to be meeting for an extra half an hour, is to accommodate that. Okay, the next slide I think is enrichment. There we go. So Ellen has retired. I mean, she'll see out the end of this year, but she's not returning next year. She's been leading tefillah, leading prayers every morning with me. We've been co-leading, and she's been teaching music, and she's decided to retire. So at Isaac's Chardoff's suggestion, I reached out to Anina Lawrence, who grew up in the synagogue, and she is actually a professional singing teacher. That's what she does professionally. She's very talented. So she's going to come in and she's going to co-lead tefillah with me every Sunday. I did get the feedback that some of the older kids didn't love music so much. And so music is not going to happen every single Sunday like it did with Ellen. Tefillot obviously will happen every single Sunday. I think that music will be about once a month, every 3 to 4 meetings. And what Anina said she could do with the oldest class, with the 5th to 7th, is that rather than doing sort of a sing-along thing, like with that, which for the younger kids, I think works great and they love it and it's fun, she might do something really creative with the oldest class, like have them write song lyrics, like have them do their own creative musical projects. Or write their own prayers. So I think that's going to work out really. I'm very excited about that, about Anina coming in. She seems really lovely, and I've been told has an unbelievable voice. She does not play the guitar, so that will be a change, but she seems super confident that she can do all this without playing guitar. So cooking, I haven't spoken yet with Maayan, but there's also Pam Giordano, who was going to come in once this year to do baking with the kids, and it didn't happen. But I will be building that into the calendar, hopefully at least twice throughout the year, if not 3 times throughout the year. I definitely want to get Israeli folk dancing, even if that's just a one-off. If Maayan can't do it, I'll just hire somebody to come down once. And then field trips like we did apple picking this year. And what else did we do? We're doing mitzvah day this Sunday. I feel like there was another field trip. Maybe not. So that's enrichment. Does anybody have any questions about any of that? No. Okay. So last but not least is, there we go. Tuition. So this is not approved. So this is board approved, but it has to be finally approved at the annual meeting, which is, when is it? I think it's
May 29th.
right. Very, very end of May. I think it's the last Thursday in May. So the tuition is going up. It's going up most significantly for the K1 class. They were paying about $400 this year. But their kids are going to be coming, those students are going to be coming twice as often. one big change is that rather than paying a tuition amount and then separate amount for materials, like books and all that, there's just going to be one amount per kit per student that's covers everything. And grades 3 to 6 will be going up to $13.50 inclusive. And if you have a third child, you get a $250 discount off the tuition for that third child. So it is an increase, and we bought the curriculum this year. The teachers were kind of amazingly creative, and I mean, Mike did prepare a curriculum for us that lasted maybe the first 3 months of school, but they've been sort of winging it, and so we had to pay for a curriculum and the enrichment, which is the Hebrew specialist, and the music teacher, because Ellen was essentially doing it for free. So there is, and then also this year we've been serving snack, which I want to continue. And yeah, so this is not approved by the board, it'll be voted on, I guess, at the annual meeting. I've never been to an annual meeting, but I suppose that's what happens. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'd love to hear any thoughts, comments, questions, wonderings.
Rabbi, what was the feedback of Stacy when she tried using the material last time?
Oh, she loved it. She used it. I mean, yeah, she used it. There was clips to YouTube videos. It was like a range of things. Yeah. No questions? No?
Oh, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
For tutoring,
Yeah.
for siblings,
Yeah.
are you gonna try and group like siblings like at the same time, or like one right after the other, so that way it's not like super, I guess, spread out over the day?
Yes, I can. Yeah, you know, to be honest, I'm not very good at math, and this, like, putting together this scheduling, it feels a little bit like a math problem to me. So I am going to reach out to a couple different guys I know who run religious schools to ask them how they do this, because I'm not exactly sure, but that makes sense, of course. But I was thinking that siblings, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, just like yeah, if it's at the same time or like one after the other, just to make life easier.
I don't think it can be at the same time because the tutors all have different days.
Oh, I meant if it was like a different I didn't know how the tutoring worked, but yeah, if it was like
Yeah.
one after the other, that's fine too.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that would it would have to be one after the other.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, unless we use Sarah Bernstein, who's got a 7 to 7:30. Yeah.
No, I mean, one after the other is totally fine.
Okay.
It was just easier than doing like an hour gap or something.
Right,
so.
right. Yeah, yeah. I get that. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to need help.
If it makes you feel better, we're flexible on our end. So
Yeah. I mean, the hope is that this just makes it more accessible. By having it spread out and into the evening. And I did reach out. Nobody was really interested. There was one tutor who could do Sunday late afternoons, but nobody seemed particularly interested in that. Anybody here would want Sunday late afternoon? No. Yeah. Okay. Good. Then you're consistent. I'm glad I didn't book that. So is everybody coming to Mitzvah Day this Sunday? Nice. Great.
We're super excited.
I know, it's gonna be so fun. I hope the weather's good. Wear boots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess that's it. You always are free to email me anytime with any questions about anything. And we'll iterate, we'll see how it goes. I'm confident that the curriculum is good, and I'm confident that every teacher I've hired is excellent. So I think it's going to be great. Yeah. All right. Have a great evening, everybody.
Well, thank you for putting this together.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah,
Bye.
of course.
Thank you. Bye.
Sunday,
Bye.
all Sunday.